Hi, this is Merrisa Naidoo from GAIA Africa, reporting to you on the final day of the INC 5.2. Today does mark the final day of the INC 5.2, despite plans to actually end the negotiations yesterday. The reason why we find ourselves in an extended, having to go through an extended day is because there has been very misguided direction that we've been receiving over the last 2 days from the INC chair and the INC secretariat and their team at UNEP. Now, we've spent actually almost 24 hours together with civil society and member states over the last day and a half, if I can say, engaged in the negotiations, almost playing a waiting game at the end of a flawed process. One thing is for sure is that, unfortunately, whilst we do not have an agreement or a treaty text coming out of this INC 5.2, we do not have a weak treaty on our hands. And that is owed to the tireless efforts of civil society organizations, together with the majority ambitious states that did not concede on their ambition. And despite having no treaty, we do not have a weak treaty. And at any cost, any format of a weak treaty has been rejected and will continue to be rejected. Civil society perseveres in the face of a flawed process that we found ourselves in at this particular INC. Yesterday, we waited almost 11 hours only for the chair of the INC to come to us at 11:30 p.m. and adjourn the meeting. Once he had adjourned the meeting, people scrambled trying to figure out what was next, because yesterday was meant to be the final day. It was to our dismay that it felt almost like there were hidden agendas being played out here. We then saw the chair taking into small group meetings late into the hours, calling for a heads of delegation meeting at 2 a.m. this morning, and then planning an unscheduled plenary at 5:30 a.m. this morning. It's been restricted access. Things have been, really at the hands of a broken process. And that's how we've been finding these final days of negotiations. It almost seems like the chair and the United Nations Environment Programme, who is UNEP, have failed to set the table for an equitable and effective negotiation. We've seen huge numbers of fossil fuel and petrochemical lobbyists swamping the talks, while civil society have been frequently shut out. We've also seen a game of favorites being played, with the low ambition minority, whilst frequently ignoring the high ambition countries from the global south. When powerful countries wielded their money, political muscle, and their influence, bullying nations into retreat and silence from the podium that almost seems a little bit deafening. This has not been the best spirit or the best show of multilateralism. In fact, it almost feels like it's been a display of coercion. Despite all of this, we've not left here with a bad treaty, and that needs to be echoed loud and clear worldwide, is that the ambitious majority have not conceded. And that's what we leave Geneva, Switzerland with today. Whilst the mood is a little bit sad, it's a little bit disappointed, it is a lot of frustration that has mounted despite continued efforts over the last 2.5 years to land a treaty that the world can be truly proud of, a treaty that can truly address the injustices that communities face, that informal workers face, that waste pickers face, and a treaty that, we need to have one that our future generations can be proud of, one that will not continue to poison the lives of our children. So we leave Geneva on a bit of a somber note, but not losing the integrity of what this treaty is meant to stand for. Thank you so much for staying with us and following our 2-week journey here at the INC 5.2. Whilst the process remains adjourned and we are yet to find out whether there will actually be a resumed session, one thing is for sure is that any format we go into another or a next negotiation, is that something has got to change, and that's got to change at a process level, at a procedural level, where we can truly unlock this deadlock of consensus that we found ourselves in. So the GAIA team, together with our allies, will be strategizing over the coming months until we know more, until we know what pathway is going to be paved so that we can secure an ambitious treaty that the world can be proud of.